Okay, I want to read this thing. It's from The Guardian and the right-wing groups behind the wave of protests against COVID-19 restrictions. Now, why am I reading this? Well, Trump's thing with Antifa, that Antifa is the ones that are doing all of this problem in Michigan, okay? They're the ones that are causing all the destruction. It's Antifa. Antifa is a terrorist organization. But let's look, and if you think that none of these right-wing, uber right-wing terrorist organizations weren't there, think again. So protesters in Michigan and other states claim to speak for ordinary citizens, but are also supported by street-fighting far-right groups. What are they? Street fighting. Okay? Not peaceful protests. They're street fighting guys. Okay? A wave of planned anti-lockdown demonstrations have broken out around the country to protest against the efforts of state governments to combat the coronavirus pandemic, with business closures and stay-at-home orders have included far-right groups as well as more mainstream Republicans. While protesters in Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, and other states claim to speak for ordinary citizens, many are also supported by street-fighting right-wing groups like the Proud Boys, conservative armed militia groups, religious fundamentalists, anti-vaccination groups, and other elements of the radical right. So if you don't think that the Proud Boys weren't there in Michigan, think again. But why is it the Proud Boys aren't a terrorist organization? What about the conservative armed militia groups? Why are they not terrorist organizations? Okay? You might want to look at this. On Wednesday, in Lansing, Michigan, a protest put together by two Republican-connected not-for-profits was explicitly devised to cause gridlock in the city and for a time blocked the entrance to a local hospital. Oh yeah, no, that was those uber-left people. No, it wasn't. It was the right. It was organized by the Michigan Conservation Coalition, which Michigan state corporate filings show has also operated under the name of Michigan Trump Republicans. It was also heavily promoted by the Michigan Freedom Fund, a group linked to the Trump cabinet member Betsy DeVos. Okay? And who's her brother? The one that does done-for-hire people, sent overseas. But no, the right is just the little angelic people sitting on the sidelines that have done nothing wrong at all. But the protest also attracted far-right protest groups who have been present at pro-Trump and gun rallies in Michigan throughout the Trump presidency. Placards identified the Michigan Proud Boys as participants in the vehicle convoy. Near the State House, local radio interviewed a man who identified himself as Phil Odinson. In fact, the man is Phil Robinson, the prime mover in a group called the Michigan Liberty Militia, whose Facebook page features pictures of firearms, warnings of civil war, celebration of Norse paganism, and memes ultimately sourced from white nationalist groups like Patriot Front. But no, none of them were involved in this at all. It was only Antifa that did it. It was them. They're a terrorist organization, Yeah, this is going to backfire on Trump so bad. The pattern of right-wing not-for-profits promoting public protests while still more radical groups use lockdown resistance as a platform for extreme right-wing causes looks to continue in its events advertised in other states over coming days. In Idaho on Friday, protesters plan to gather at the Capitol building in Boise to protest antivirus restrictions put in place by the Republican Governor Brad Little. The protest has been heavily promoted by the Idaho Freedom Foundation, which counts among its donors dark money funds linked to the Koch brothers, such as Donors Capital Fund and Castle Rock, a foundation seeded with part of the fortune of Adolf Coors, the right-wing beer magnate. IFF have added their slogan for the event, Disobey Idaho, to stickers which they plan to distribute among the crowd. The event is also being promoted on a website dedicated to attacking Little for his response to COVID-19. That website was set up by the Idaho businessman, pastor, and one-time Republican state Senate candidate Diego Rodriguez. Rodriguez launched the website at an Easter service held in defiance of the governor's orders on Easter Sunday, which was also addressed by Ammon Bundy, the leader of the militia occupation of Malheur National Wildlife Refuge in 2016. It became a rallying point for the anti-government right in the U.S. Bundy has been holding similar gatherings for weeks in Emmett, Idaho, where he now lives. On Sunday, he repeated his opposition to the Idaho orders, writing on Facebook, "We all have a duty to defend what is right and to make sure that what God has given men does not take away, especially that great gift of agency, yes, freedom." Ada County, Idaho, where the capital Boise is located, has so far suffered 541 cases of COVID and 9 deaths, in a state which has far worse outbreak than the neighboring Oregon, which 2.4 times more populous. Nevertheless, the ad for the rally on Rodriguez's website advises, "We feel that wearing masks and gloves is counterproductive to the movement and should be avoided." In Washington state, meanwhile, which has now brought one of the worst outbreaks in the country under a measure of control, a Republican state committeeman, Tyler Miller, has organized a protest at the state capitol on Saturday. Miller, who is active in the Kitsap County Republican Party, was involved in passing a resolution in January in support of a Representative Matt Shea, who was excluded from the House GOP caucus after a report commissioned by House found that he had participated in domestic terrorism. Who was that? Domestic terrorism? The right? Oh no, they wouldn't do that. No. It's those left. It's those lefts that are doing it all. Hundreds of Facebook users have indicated they will be attending his hazardous Liberty rally and a parallel event in Richland, Washington. Included in that number are members of the 3% of Washington, a group which has held a series of open carry rallies in Seattle, featuring speeches from the far-right protest leader Joey Gibson. As for Shea, he is speaking on Saturday at an online Saving America conference, which will discuss an alleged erosion of rights that's been ramped up in unprecedented ways during this COVID-19 crisis. He's scheduled to appear alongside the likes of close ally pastor Ken Peters, who's been holding monthly services outside Spokane's Planned Parenthood clinic, the actor, MAGA personality, and congressional candidate Mindy Robinson, and the New Zealand-based anti-communist speaker and author Trevor Loudon. Other similar events have been advertised for Saturday by anti-vaccine activists in Oregon and for Friday by a Boston group with alt-right connections. Okay. So it says America faces an epic choice in the coming year, and the results will define the country for a generation. These are perilous times. Over the last 3 years, much of what the Guardian holds dear has been threatened: democracy, civility, and truth. Okay? And so what do we have? We have a so-called president, which keeps ramping it up. And now, the nerve of him to say everything was done by Antifa. There were no right groups there at all. And if you believe that, he's got a unicorn to sell you. Okay? Yeah, I'm waiting for this to backfire on him. Okay? To sit there and say that Antifa is a terrorist group, and all these uber right, the Proud Boys, all of those, they're just out there to sit there and cause hate and jump into anything they can cause civil distress and disruption. They're there. Okay? I guarantee the Proud Boys were there, and a number other of these uber right out there causing a lot of this destruction. And if, Trump acting like he's got blinders, he doesn't see. Oh, he knows he's ramping those groups up. He knows he's doing it. Okay? So, we need to really get this fool out of office as soon as possible and get things back to some normalization and crack down on these groups. I don't care if they're uber left or they're uber right. We cannot have this kind of disruption in the U.S. any longer.